Guys, it's finally happened. All of the One Direction members have released their solo albums. The last one to do it was Louis Tomlinson, but his debut album Walls is here. Have you heard it? It took him 4 years to release a full-length record, but the delay was well justified. That boy went through a lot, and he definitely isn't a kid from a boy band anymore. Will life finally give Louis Tomlinson and his family a break? What were the difficulties on his path that delayed the release of his album? Stay with me to find out about the tragedies that changed the life of Louis Tomlinson. But before we start, remember to subscribe to Curious Sips and turn on the notifications so you don't miss our newest videos. Now let's begin. One Direction broke up, went on a hiatus, or whatever you want to call it, almost 5 years ago. This is half of the time that they were together as a band. Where did all of the time go? And while some of the former members have already gone on world tours, become models or actors, or even released their solo albums #1 or #2, Louis Tomlinson had serious reasons to be the last one to put out his first album. Maybe that's why the lyrics on his record are way more personal than the other singles that he released previously. Not only have the recent 4 to 5 years been a roller coaster of emotions for Louis, it's actually the past 10 years that changed his life forever. He auditioned for the X Factor, and that brought him massive popularity with One Direction. With the band, he got to beat some records and make histories. He also met his current girlfriend Eleanor Calder. Besides that, he left the group, had a son, and became a soccer player for a bit. But that's not all, because then he returned to the X Factor in 2018 as a judge, but most importantly, he said goodbye to his beloved mother and younger sister. It seems that life put him through many ups and downs. What were the good things that made the difference in Louis' life? Well, obviously, the main thing that changed his life was joining One Direction. It not only brought him fame, but in the early days of the band, Louis met his girlfriend Eleanor, and honestly, the two were and still are the power couple. Honestly, they must really be made for each other, because this girl had to go through a lot, mainly thanks to Louis' very protective and dedicated fans who came up with some crazy theories about their relationship. And as I said that they were the power couple, but they also had to go through some ups and downs. The two split up in March of 2015, apparently because of Louis' work schedule. Honestly, March 2015 really was a wild time to be a One Direction fan. Do some of you remember that? But in February of 2017, Louis and Eleanor were back together, and the truth is that they've been inseparable since. They refollowed each other on Instagram, and later they were spotted at the airport. Louis revealed that it was the tragic death of his mom that brought them back together. They even got matching tattoos of each other's initials on their hands. And it's not a secret that Louis' mom adored Eleanor, and she even made her one of her main bridesmaids at her wedding in 2014. But let's go back to when the two were broken up, because Louis was linked to a few girls, and one of them will stay in his life forever. That girl is Louis' baby mama, Brianna Jungwirth. The two briefly hooked up in May of 2015 after being introduced by mutual friends. A few months later, the shock of literally everyone, the news broke out that Louis was gonna be a dad. Did I say that being a One Direction fan in March of 2015 was wild? Well, being a fan in the whole of 2015 was wild. Brianna gave birth to their son, Freddie Rain, in January of 2016. She lives in Los Angeles with the mini Louis and has her family close to help her with all of the childcare duties. And Louis divides his time between the UK and LA and visits his son as often as he can. He doesn't share much of his son on social media, but I'm sure he is a great dad. What do you think? Now we're getting to the sad part. Fortunately, Louis' mom Joanna got to see her first grandson before she passed away in December of 2016. She was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of leukemia that required immediate treatment. Joanna was only 43 years old when she died, and she left behind 7 children. She gave birth to Louis when she was 18, and maybe that's why they shared such a close bond. His mom was the one who encouraged him to audition for the X Factor in 2010, and he trusted her so much that she knew all his email passwords, and sometimes she was the first person he told about his new girlfriends. Swished. When it seemed that Louis to some extent had come to terms with the death of the most important person in his life, he released the song Two of Us. In the song, he paid tribute to Joanna with the lyrics such as "I'll be living one life for the two of us, I will be the best of me," or I know you'll be looking down, swear I'm gonna make you proud. During an interview, Louis also said that his son Freddie helped him get past his grief. So with the release of Two of Us, it seemed like Louis' grieving process was coming to an end. But unfortunately, a week after the song was released, on March 13th of 2019, Louis' 18-year-old sister Felicity was found unconscious in her apartment in London. She was pronounced dead at the scene, and the death was treated as unexplained, but the suspected cause was cardiac arrest. The fans who followed her on Instagram noticed that the girl lost a lot of weight, and they thought that it might have something to do with her passing. A few months later, a report confirmed that Felicity died accidentally from a fatal combination of drugs, which as the coroner described were the perfect storm. Felicity started taking drugs regularly after her mother's death in 2016, and she even attended and successfully completed treatment in a rehab facility in Egypt in the fall of 2018, but relapsed in 2019. Felicity, who was known to her friends as Fizzy, had over 1.3 million followers on Instagram and was an aspiring fashion designer. Not long before her death, she announced that she was planning to release her own clothing line. On her social media, she also was outspoken about mental health and other important issues. Apparently, Louis had a superstition that his luck would run out after having such massive success with One Direction. But even though he lost two of the most important women in his life, he still has an amazing family, friends, his little boy, and a girlfriend that he recently said he would love to marry. And most importantly, he has his fans who always have his back and keep him going. Do you think that Louis' strength can be an inspiration to others? And did you like his debut album? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with Curious Sips. And remember to leave a thumbs up and share the video with your friends. Until next time.